Hello, and welcome to another TipHaus webinar. Today, a very exciting topic. Thank you all for joining with us. Today, we're going to be covering QR code tipping. We do have a module for this in TipHaus. It's a feature that we've rolled out over the last year with several of the larger groups, and we are making it more available to more groups, and happy to show that off today here with you. So, if this is your first time joining one of our webinars, couple housekeeping rules just to keep things simple for everyone here. There is a live chat and there will be a Q&A at the end. So for the live chat section, please feel free to throw in your questions, tell us where you're calling in from, anything of that nature. And if you have a question, don't feel the need to wait to the end. You can throw it in right when you have it so you don't forget it. And at the end, I will go through in the comment section and be looking and seeing, and I'll go through and answer as many as I can. We are recording as well. So if in the world of restaurant industry, you have something going on elsewhere and you have to, a fire to put out figuratively or literally that you've got to go handle, please feel free to go do so. The recordings will be shared automatically to the email you registered with. There are always going to be resources within this. So at the end, feel free. We've got a couple QR codes. We'll have links that are shared afterwards as well that you can look through. And as always, if this is your first webinar, we do offer a random $50 Starbucks gift card. So just for attending, you do have a raffle available to it. And then every question you ask also earns you an additional raffle entry that will be announced at the very end. So with that being said, thank you all for joining and let's dive on in. So when we think about what QR code tipping is, one of the most prominent reasons to have it is we are in a increasingly cashless society. It's something I literally landed back from a conference in San Diego this morning, and it was something I dealt with at the conference, from dealing with the valet, the bellhops, the housekeeping, all of those in areas where I used to have cash on hand, commonly tipped. I actually, maybe due to the nature of our company being TipHaus, had to go to an ATM, draw out cash, and make sure that I had it available. But typically, I would much rather just be able to scan something, send them over a few dollars for the efforts on the days, and go on with the day. It's much quicker, and it gives these guests an opportunity to show their thankfulness, to show their appreciation for the hard work on the staff. So guests are increasingly expecting more and more digital tipping options available to them for that same exact reason. Cash is just becoming more and more scarce in our economy. There is also the added idea of cash certainly slows things down. It creates uncertainties. It's not something that you are able to track easily. And so you don't know who's performing excellent with it. You don't know what their actual take-home pays are. It's difficult to navigate from an operational and management perspective. And then, of course, QR tipping is designed to help solve these. One of the biggest pieces that we have available within QR tipping as well is always going to be feedback. A philosophy we share here is that the tip itself is its own form of feedback, of course, but it's great to get actual writings about what's going on. Is this an excellent employee who went above and beyond and made my kids have a delightful time at the hotel, at the restaurant, whatever it might be? Is this something that, hey, this was great and the service wasn't what I expected. A different server came in and really saved the day for us, and that's why I wanted to handle it this way. Great to get that real-time information back to you. So how does QR tipping work? What does it look like? As simple as possible, and that's kind of by design, of course, is the guest is made to scan a QR code. And these QR codes, we've seen everything from putting them on business cards to formal plaques that go on walls to a little piece of paper that's hung on the back of a car seat for airport couriers, all kinds of manners that you can use a QR code with it anywhere the guest is likely to be for 5 to 15 seconds or greater, and that they would have their cell phone available to them. The payment screen will immediately open up. There will be presets of tip options, and I'll show you this here in just a moment. And then we can also just type in your own amount that you would like to enter. That is automatically tracked and reported in the TipHaus app. And so all tips are being managed, and we want to make sure you have a single 30,000-foot view of every single financial transaction and tip going on in your locations and your establishments. So I'm going to switch our screens here for just a second, and I'll show us what does it look like within the TipHaus app. So here we should all, and let me confirm, yes, the screen is sharing accurately. So this is your home screen of the TipHaus dashboard. If you're an existing customer, you should be very familiar with this. If not, you'll see something here that all of your tips are brought in, all the data that you want. There is a ton of fun functionality within here of how we automate and calculate tips, how we pay those tips out real time. Lots and lots of cool things that I can show here. But for today's purpose, I'm instead just going to walk you through what a QR tipping process looks like. So From our QR tipping, if you see up here, similar to creating our tip logic, what we can do is actually just create. And from here, we have two options. You can create a QR code for a specific employee. And you can say, hey, for John Doe, this QR code, anytime it's scanned, is going to show a picture of John Doe. If they wish, it's going to show a bio if they want to populate that information for them. But most importantly, all tips are going to be credited strictly to John Doe. Similarly, we can create things for job codes, and this is common for housekeeping services or shared stats, but where we may say, hey, I don't know who was cleaning the floor this day. I have 3 housekeepers. I'm not sure which one cleaned which room at which time, but what we're going to do is create a tip pool for these individuals and make sure that all of their efforts are rewarded and try to encourage that teamwork. So we can create either one of these job codes as we go through it. Then what we'll be able to dive into and see is, as you create it, what does it actually look like? What is it? How do we have the messaging? How do we control that? How do we control our branding? All of those things are available to you here within the settings page. And as you adjust these items, you will start to see this would update in real time. And so you can play through and say, hey, we really have a tone that is far more formal. We're very fine dining. We're very fine in. Great. We can message and adjust that. We can use more tapered back colors to match your brand, or we're very fun. We're very quirky. We've got a lot of personality as a brand. And so we want to help display all of that information. And so you'll see as you go through it that you'll be able to track each QR code that's created. You can create unlimited QR codes. You can batch print these as well, which is always nice. And you can ship it straight to a FedEx, a Kinko's, a Canva, any place that you're normally using to print your in-print materials. So this is going to be what everything will look like with it. Happy to dive through. If people have specific questions, we're always welcome to book a demo and see exactly what the use cases and how you need it are. But we do love the idea of both being able to leave a tip and leave some feedback directly live for the experience with these guests, no matter where that might be. That is not traditionally used with a credit card receipt anymore, right? Those are great. You can always leave a tip there. That's TipHaus's normal functionality. We'll pick up on that, help distribute it, calculate it, take care of that for you. But for those individuals and roles where, there is no credit card to be signed, there's no processing a receipt handed to you, this is an excellent solution to help put some tips back into the hands of people who formerly were making great cash tips daily, and they've just slowly seen that income stream from theirs start to whittle away. Now I'm going to dive us back in to the slides here, so bear with me as we've slid back. When we think about tips, our goal is to be able to capture them wherever the guests want to make them available. And so we see a number. We could never list all of the places that you would be able to see it, but obviously at the table is great for, especially for unique restaurants or restaurants that maybe it's a counter service type approach and you don't feel comfortable asking for a tip before the service is delivered, but you want to post it on there so you can capture that feedback and a tip that goes to the team. It's a great use case for it. We've seen it on receipts. I think that's an excellent method to do it. And you can lead with the feedback functionality. We can have it show the feedback screen before the tip. And we have even seen customizations with large groups that only on positive feedback does the tipping screen show. So if someone came in to give you some harsh love and constructive feedback on how to get better at things, you don't want to show a screen right after saying, hey, would you like to leave a tip for your 1-star? No, you want to take that and improve your operation. So that's always available to you at the bar for live music or events or catering items. We've seen plenty. And then a number I've seen the airport couriers that, shuttle people to and from. I have seen on to-go bags in situations like that or catering events out. Lots and lots. And you all will have much better ideas of your own operations and organizations. Where were the tips commonly handled? How do we make sure that we're incentivizing our staff to want to work these positions and try to provide a great guest experience? So all available to you within this and part of the TipHaus bundle as it comes. Making every guest interaction a simple opportunity. You'll see here, these are real mock-ups that we've created for customers in the past of where they might use it and how they can use it. Obviously, housekeeping, valet, room service, concierge are all excellent opportunities to be able to do so. And we have seen, on average, anywhere between $25 to $50 additional a day for these service staff members per shift that they're working in the QR tips. One of the most our first customers to ever roll this out with us that we baited. It was an incredible opportunity for a omelet bar that she ran as part of a breakfast buffet section. But as it was part of a buffet and it was prepaid with it, you didn't have an opportunity to run your cart. You didn't have an opportunity to select a tip percentage or a dollar amount. And so they put up a QR piece at the end, and they actually saw significantly more. I think they're averaging almost $12 an hour extra in tips, which was outstanding. They're providing great service. They want to smile. They want to treat the guest incredibly, and they should be rewarded for that, have the opportunity to be rewarded if the guest so chooses. There are fast and safe tipping after every ride. And this is our car service piece where I've seen it now with, we have seen it where people load it up on their phone, and every employee mobile app, they will actually have the ability to show a QR code right there. So if you don't feel comfortable saying, hey, we can put it on your badge, we can make it big and prominent, we can put it somewhere that's very obvious. If it's just that you want to say, hey, you're not allowed to request it, but if a guest offers it to you and ask if you have a way to digital tip, instead of it going through a Venmo or a Zelle or a Cash App or something that is much harder for you to track, that exposes far more of their personal information than you may feel comfortable with, or that employee feels comfortable with. They manage their own profile, so they can choose what part of their name is visible, if a picture is visible or not, if any part of their bio, such as, I'm from here and this is my favorite thing to do, whatever it might be. That is all in the employee's control for their comfort level and their safety. And we have seen that. So you can just turn the screen around, show your QR code, they can scan it and then put it back, or you can print it anywhere you wish with it. But it does significantly help capture more tips for the drivers that are doing a great work, and you want them to have that first touch point and that last touch point with those guests, whether it's to the airports, or you're taking them out to one of your experiences, events, or a vineyard somewhere. Here we see again, the to-go orders, the table tents, the signage, the business cards. All of these are available. We have plenty of pre-made templates for many of these. So if it's something you're curious about, let us know. And if you don't see something we have available for you, also let us know. This is something we want to make as easy as possible for our restaurant operators or hoteliers, anyone who's out there in the service and hospitality industry. We want to make sure you give your opportunities to your staff members to be able to earn these tips. This is the customization screen. You'll see our Qui-Gon Jinn as our profile picture, as our development team is always prone to get a little nerdy out with it, and I love it. This is all available within their control. So they can customize their profile. They can customize a photo and a bio. The QR code is directly from the app. So if they so choose, they can turn that around and show that QR code. And then, of course, it is enabled, as I mentioned, individually by each and every one of the employees. So you want to make sure you match their comfort level with it. You want to make sure, as an organization, you can set your own standards. We never list last names. You're allowed to show pictures, but it must be in company attire and your work shirts. All of that is great. And then you can let your employees from that choose on those parameters how comfortable they are and what they want to display or show. Here we have Adrift Hospitality, one of our power users with QR codes. And so they've just recently launched it and quickly come back to give us great feedback with it. They've deployed it across table tents and stand-up tents that you'll see here. So every property customized their own QR codes for guests. They want it to have its own language, its own logos. They want to make sure it matches the branding and it fits in seamlessly with their locations and their properties. Amazing feedback already, both in the feedback sense and on the tipping side. Boosting tip visibility, accessibility for all staff. It's a common request that staff will have, is an opportunity to figure out how to make up for the lost income that was cash tips. And so this really shows, as an operator and a manager, you're going above and beyond. You're helping to find solutions for them. You're hearing their problems and you're meeting them with solutions, meeting them right in the middle of the road, saying, hey, here's how we're going to move this forward together. I heard you loud and clear. You lost some income over the last couple of years, and this is how we're going to make up for it and ensure that we give our guests that opportunity to leave a tip. Few testimonials, of course, from some of our favorite customers out there that are using it. Langer's is, TipHaus QR tipping made it effortless for our guests to leave tips, and our staff loves it. And this is one of those things where it's pretty hard for the staff to not love QR code tipping. No complexity to it, just a pure beneficial offering made available. And then Riverside Hotel out of Idaho has been using this for pushing a year at least. And there is QR code tipping boosted tips by 25% and eliminated the cash handling headaches. And you'll see that often with it when cash is there. Are they reporting it? Are they turning it in so it goes on our paycheck? Do you know who's actually earning these tips, who's underperforming, who's overperforming? You want to be able to centralize that all into one dashboard. And even you may want to apply tip logic to it to ensure that the person who has actually got the QR code available may not be the only one assisting that guest, but we're going to pool it or we're going to tip share some portions of that. All of the functionality you know and love about TipHaus in general is always available for this as tipping as well. And you can always see them all compiled within your breakdown in your dashboards. The results speak for themselves. It's no secret. This is something that is really, really in desire right now. And if you travel around the United States right now, you'll start to see little pop-ups of these one-off scenarios. I think those are great. I'm never going to knock someone for being able to give an offer to their staff, but you really want to make sure that it's available in a way that you, manager, operator, VP of finance, whatever you may be out there, that you have visibility into it, that you can track it, that you can pay attention to it. But the results themselves are happier guests. Guests feel great when they can see that they've been given great service and they're able to reward that employee who is serving them. You get positive guest feedback, and I'll bluntly say sometimes you'll see some negative guest feedback come through and say, hey, I'm not leaving a tip. What I am is I wanted to say, I appreciate the QR code, but I want to say the burger was cold, or hey, it took 25 minutes to get my appetizer out, or hey, the bellman completely ignored us when we walked in, even though we had 2 heavy bags. All of those are real, and nobody likes receiving negative feedback, but silent negative feedback is the worst, right? If you don't know how an area to improve, if you don't know what the guest actually experienced, if you're not giving yourself a chance to hear that, respond to them, maybe make an offer to them and try to help them out and delight their day another way, that may just be a customer lost forever and bad word of mouth and bad reputation going on. So whether it's positive or negative, you want to bring that feedback in and make sure you have a place to centralize it, capture it. And of course, again, cash, tips were its own form of feedback. It's a way to say, that you've done a great job. QR code tips are the exact same piece, right? It's giving them an option to leave the highest form of feedback, which is not speaking with your words on it. It's putting your money on it as well. So, of course, this allows us to get bank runs out. To one major initiative of TipHaus in general is to keep restaurant management, operations, hoteliers, all on property, delivering delightful service, staying and managing their staff, making sure that they're keeping up with them, that they're supporting their staff that are working the floors, instead of dealing with the things in the back office, trying to make bank on exchange, trying to go create change on it, or running actually to the bank to deposit cash so you don't have 20, 30,000 accumulating in your safe. And then, of course, more tips captured, happier staff. You're going to hear that a lot over the course of it, and hopefully you'll hear it a lot as you implement the QR code tipping. So with that being said, I would love to dive into any questions that we have out there today. And I see that we already have a couple. Oh, okay. And I'm going to start with you, Sarah. Let me see if I can pop this up on the screen for you. What kind of feedback are you hearing from staff? Do they actually like it better than the old way of handling tips? Great question. And I have trouble answering that from like the old way of handling tips. No, I think everyone, their preference is always to receive a crisp $100 bill, right? That's going to be the best thing in the world. And if it's available to them, that'll still be there. What QR code tipping does, however, is offer the second best thing, because cash is still very much available. If they have the cash and it's available to hand, they very well will do so. What QR code tipping is doing is building redundancy. If you're like me, by the second, third, fourth day of my travel, trip, vacation, whatever it may be, all my cash is gone. I'll always go withdraw before I go out, but I've used it tipping across the board on the way there. And by the third and fourth day, now you're putting work on me. I've got to go find an ATM. I've got to go ask someone if they have change or if they can run my card and hand me cash back so that I have money to tip their staff. That work, sometimes I'll do it. Sometimes I'm too busy to get that done. And now it's a lost opportunity for revenue for your staff members in the meantime, right? If I don't have the ability to tip them and I physically cannot, and I don't have the cash, that is just a $5 here and a $10 here that the bartender's not getting, that the bellman's not getting, that the housekeeping's not getting. And so we want to make sure we're at least giving guests the option to meet them where they're at, right? If they have cash, great. This is not saying you can never take cash again by any means. But what it does do is really offer a way to make sure that if the guest wants to leave a tip, they have the ability to. So from that standpoint, we hear fabulous feedback from the staff. And that's because it's not an either or. We're not replacing entirely. We are just recognizing the honest and reality of the world today, which is cash is fading from the economy. And if we're not willing to find ways to make it easy for our staff to still receive tips, we may experience turnover. We may experience disgruntled employees. And at minimum, we're going to be getting some pushback and feedback and seeing their take home decrease. So we want to make sure that they have the ability to take those. Next, I see here. Oh, same Sarah going for the $50 Starbucks gift card. I see. I love it. Also, is there training for new employees that will need to switch from their personal Venmo to QR code tipping? Absolutely. And so we'll craft custom training videos for your site as needed. We work with a lot of the very, very large hospitality brands with the QR tipping and how that goes. And we'll create customized videos for them. We'll help on their design. We'll consult with them on best placement areas to be visible and obvious to the guest without being too in their face, right? How do we balance that piece? So we're always happy to consult and chat through it. And this is an evolving space. So we're always happy to just be, flies on the wall and listen to where you're thinking and what guest feedback you've got. But from the standpoint of getting away from personal Venmo to QR code tipping, very simple process. In Venmo, you're going to have to show them either the QR code that's on your Venmo, just like you would in our app, right? So that's immediately the exact same number of steps to be required. And you're going to have far more control of your personal. Venmo, depending on how you're showing you, if the QR, or you just give them your name and username, or you can give them your phone number, all of those start to encroach a little bit on personal boundaries of, a guest work employee interaction. And so we've seen some great pieces, but training wise, it's very, very simple because it all is aligned in TipHaus. Every piece and every tip and every transaction and every piece of feedback makes it right to our dashboard. Due to that, there is very little training that is required. If you already use TipHaus, there's a high probability that all of your employees who are tipped already have the free TipHaus mobile employee app that tracks their tips earnings across the restaurant or across the hotel, not just from QR. It tracks their best shifts, all of the fun things with it. And this is just another tab within that opens it up for them. Only when you enable QR tipping will that show up. So employees can't enable this on their own if this is something you're still on the fence about or you want to think or roll out slowly. But it has been a very, very easy transition. And then if it's table tents, if you're putting on the badge, if you're putting it on a plaque, to-go bags, things like that, there is no training for the staff, right? That's not something they have to think about. It's available to them for the guest to use as they see fit, but you never have to take action, and the staff will just get it either on their paycheck, if that is how you choose to pay out your tips, or more likely it's on the Earn Tip Access program that TipHaus offers, of course, through multiple banking avenues. But we'll make sure that it gets into their account, that you have a full ledger of it, that it gets reported on payroll, most importantly, for things in the future. When the tip is part of the POS check, it is pulled into our accounting solution and GL entry for that. When the tip is collected outside the POS, how are your customers getting that into the general ledger? Great question. So from this standpoint, it is making it in because there is an export that is always going to be entering payroll regardless. So from TipHaus, and I'll actually pop you over. Let me see if my screen has not timed me out. So if we look at our breakdown page here, what you will see is this is our normal TipHaus breakdown. Of course, you'll see all the information we're pulling in from the point of sale, service charges, all the fun stuff. This column right here is what's going to allow you to make sure that it makes it into your accounting and your payroll side. So this column will populate, and then this will get added to the total take home. And so we will display what tips came from what area. Was it a gift card? Was it cash tips? Was it credit card? All of those make it in so that we can ensure that it does indeed make it back and everything is on the up and up, that we match 1 cent to 1 cent here and make sure everything is good. And that is always done with an export. If you are a current customer, or if you're not and you've never asked for a customized export, please do. What this is we will match it to exactly your payroll specific needs, and we will make sure we'll ask for a sample template, take care of everything for you on that front. But this way it makes it always into those fronts. Next, I see from an Ashley, are the employees used to getting cash, having any complaints about switching to the digital payouts, having to report on the tips? Okay, great question. So no, and again, I'm never going to pretend cash tips are still not happening. They will forever happen in the world as long as cash exists, in my opinion. But what we do see is no amount of complaints from it. The reporting on tips, I think you just have to be very tactful with your education of that, but you need to do this regardless. And what I mean by that is cash tips, hey, it's under the table. You let people put it in the pocket. It's kind of a don't see, don't tell type of thing. And whatever your restaurant feels comfortable with, whatever your hospitality brand feels comfortable with, that we're not here to police. What we are here to do is make sure that you are reducing liability. You have entirely tracked options for any digital tip, anything going through the point of sale, anything going through the QR code. The greater risk to not doing it through a system like this would be it going through Venmo, which actually now does report to the IRS. And there's a whole debacle going on with people who formerly took payments from that and what they were doing with it. So in the end of this, the IRS, it's Form 1027, I want to say. We have an export for it specifically for groups that have gotten audited and had discrepancies and had to handle things and then reached out to us to help them solve those. They already know the averages for your restaurant, whether you're QSR or craft casual, full service, fine dining. They know the averages within your region. Underreporting in the digital age is a surefire way to get an IRS agent coming and saying hello to you, and an audit, which is no fun for anyone. And then you're doing weekly submissions of it. You're getting everything combed through. Nobody wants to have a fine-tooth comb taken through their finances at any point in their life. So when it comes to that end, I'm not ever going to say that the employees say, well, I liked cash tips better because it goes in my pocket and they don't know. They kind of do know. They can take estimates on it. More importantly, they're looking at credit card tips and calculating. And beyond all of that, all those employees are doing are unfortunately hurting themselves in the future. And we see this time and time again. One of the most commonly used features of our app is we actually display your entire take home for tips. And what that allows you to do is things like secure an apartment, get a better car loan terms, make sure that you have the money if you want to go and buy a house, that you have the ability to negotiate a mortgage rate that's fair to you. Keeping cash and not paying taxes on it, that may be its own thing for you. That's I'm not going to pretend it's not a common thing. I've been in this industry for 20 years. However, it is hurting yourself in the long term. You need to make sure that you're getting those pieces reported for you at the end, because a lot of servers are struggling to make sure that they can secure apartments, that they can get homes, that they can get cars. And it's because they may make great money under the table on their own ways, but if they're not seeing that reported, the bank can't authorize a loan on it. So realistically, it's something, you just want to approach it, come at it from a helpful standpoint, make sure that the employees know that, hey, we're not replacing cash, that's still there. But I do think it's best that we talk about the idea that, you're eventually going to need to take a loan. You're going to need to have credit that's available. And all of that is determined by income, right? So last question I see here, team. Do we need to use TipHaus for tip management to use QR code tipping? No, you actually don't. So if we have plenty of customers who they're not let's call it a traditional restaurant. They're not a point of sale based piece. Maybe they are, I've seen a bartender who does events for weddings and things like that. So it's prepaid, right? It's $2,500. We're going to bring out the alcohol. We're going to set up site. We're going to do all of that. And they'll ask, is it okay? Is it comfortable if we accept tips? Yeah, of course. Our guests are going to tip. We'd love to, rather than, or in addition to having an actual tip jar for cash, which again, at weddings is becoming way less common to keep cash with you and bring it to you. You can set out a QR code as well. But in those instances, they are using our TipHaus dashboard strictly for that column in the take home. They are not using anything from the standpoint of, they don't have a point of sale that it's integrating with, no time and attendance system, nothing like that. So from that standpoint, you can absolutely use it without having the full service, the full suite. That is still where you would view it. You can do exports, things like that. And that's also your management platform, meaning that's where you actually create the QR codes, So you can batch print them, you can get them set up, you can ship them to whatever graphic designer you want to use if you want to really spruce them up and go through that front. Thank you again, everyone. Please feel free to reach out, book a demo, chat with us. My email, as always, is kirk@tiphaus.com. So specific questions, don't hesitate to shoot them over to me. Or if you want to get in touch with our team, marketing@tiphaus.com is always a great one. But with that, I will bid everyone a wonderful day. And thank you for joining us. Hope to see you tomorrow on the Alliance and TipHaus webinar.